guys and welcome to my video. We have a little bit of a different background today. So for today's look, we are going to be doing this smoked out purple eyeshadow liner. There's a lot of brown and purple as well as Anastasia Beverly Hills products. I love her products and I think they're somewhat affordable if you buy them one by one. So if you guys like this look, go ahead and keep watching and we'll get started with the tutorial. Alright guys, so let's get started. So of course our first step is to prime our skin. I'm going to go in with the Professional Primer from Benefit. And I'm just going to dab that into the skin, especially in the T-zone area. So while we wait for that to set, I'm going to go ahead and go into the brows using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Definer in medium brown. I'm first going to use the spoolie end to comb out the brows. And next I'm going to go in and sort of outline the brows. And then of course we're going to go in and fill in the sparse areas. Alright guys, so I did finish off the brows off camera since it takes a while. But after I finished up, I just cleaned them up with my concealer and a concealer brush. Now I'm going to go into the Tartelette palette. And of course, using the lightest shade, today I'm going to use Free Spirit. I'm just going to put this all over the lid to set our concealer, as well as underneath the brow to highlight the brow bone. So I'm just going to really pack this color on. Alright guys, so now that we have our brows cleaned up, I'm going to go into my eyeshadows. I'm going to take a lot of Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows. Using these sort of brownish colors, I'm going to go into the shade Birkin, and Birkin is just a really nice light brown. I'm going to use this as my transition shade using a fluffy brush. I'm just going to put that above the crease. Alright, so I really packed that transition shade on. We're not going to use too many eyeshadows, so I do want to make sure that the ones we used are pretty bright. So for our next color, I'm going to go into the color Dusty Rose. This is just a really nice cool tone, sort of mauve color. Taking that on a fluffy, flat, fluffer Morphe brush, I'm just going to deepen the crease with this color. And I'm going to mainly focus this in the outer V. Not really going to bring that too far into the crease. Now going back into that fluffy brush, I'm just going to blend everything. I didn't pick up any additional product. Alright, so now that we have those two shades in and blended, I'm going to go in with the lid shade. I'm going to use the shade Glisten from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So using a flat brush, I'm just going to spray this with my MAC Prep and Prime. And that's going to make sure that the shimmer shade really pops and really gets onto the brush, because sometimes when you just use the brush alone, it doesn't want to do it just alone. So with a large amount of that Glisten shade, I'm just going to lightly dab that onto the lid. And just here in the outer V, I'm actually just cleaning this space up so that it's all just the shade Glisten. Alright, so now for the fun part. I'm going to go in with this small angled brush from e.l.f. And I'm going to get into the Tartelette palette. I'm just going to get into the shade Best Friend, which is just a purple color. This is where the tape is really going to come in handy, because we are going to do a smoked out eyeshadow liner with this. So we're just going to go like we're doing regular liner. Alright guys, so now that we have the wings done on both sides, I'm going to take the tape off. And now I'm just really going to clean up the fallout that I have all over my face from that Glisten color. Alright, so what we're going to do now is go in with foundation. So I'm going to zoom you guys out. So picking a foundation that I haven't used in a while, I'm going to use my Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. I'm in the color Tan Honey, I believe. So I'm just going to take some, put it on the back of my hand, dot it along the face, and with my hair out of the way, I'm just going to blend. I do really like this foundation because you can get really good coverage without it feeling caked on, and that is always a plus. Oh Lord, it's hot in Seattle today. Alright, so now that our foundation is all blended in, I'm going to go back in with my concealer and a concealer brush, and I'm going to put this underneath the wing. Even though we used the tape, I just wanted to take this so that it really just sharpens up the wing. You want to be really careful when applying this because you don't want to mess up the wing that we did. We just want to sharpen it. So now going back in with that concealer, we're going to take it under the eyes, onto the forehead, down the nose, and onto the chin. Now going back into our beauty blender, we're just going to blend all of that out. Using my ring finger, I'm just going to clean up the area under the liner and just make sure that we don't have any harsh lines. And I don't think I said this, but the concealer that I used was the Instant Age Rewind in medium. Now I'm going to get into my e.l.f. brush. I'm going to get into my e.l.f. blush brush, and I'm going to get into the NYX HD finishing powder in the color Banana. I'm just going to run that under the eyes. I'm also going to run that onto the forehead, down the nose, and on the chin where I highlighted. Alright, so now we are going to bake. I'm going to get into my Laura Mercier translucent powder. I'm going to take that onto my beauty sponge, and I'm just going to concentrate that underneath the eyes in the V shape. And then whatever's left over on my sponge, I'm going to take that onto the forehead, down the nose, and onto the chin. Alrighty, so while we wait for that to set, I'm going to go in and do contour. So using my e.l.f. bronzer palette, I know you guys are probably getting sick of this, but I use this every day. Using my bronzer palette, I'm going to take the two matte dark shades, and using my e.l.f. contour brush, I'm just going to concentrate that into the hollows of my cheeks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push that in, then pull up, and just blend it as we go. Alright guys, so we are done with the contour with the contour brush. I did contour my nose a little bit. I just took the matte shade and I just took the brush and I went in there. I obviously contoured a lot, not a little bit. But now we are going to go in with our angled brush into the bronzy shades, and we're just going to finish up the contour here. Also going to take that into the temples, onto the forehead. And when I do my contour, I do hold the angled brush this way. When you put it like this, then the tip can really get into the hollows, and then the rest can just brush it on. And then the product is just applied and you're already done. So finally, I'm going to brush off this powder here. Gonna blend that, and hopefully that made it less intense. So now that we are done with our bronzer, I'm just gonna go in with blush. I'm gonna get into my Milani blush in Awakening Rose. I'm gonna use that same e.l.f. brush because I just want to take this really lightly above where we put the contour. Now we're just gonna blend the blush and the contour together. So now our contour and our blush is done. I'm going to finish off the eyes now. So I'm just going to get into this Morphe brush here, and I'm going to take the color Dusty Rose. Using that color, I'm going to concentrate that underneath the eye. Alright, so getting back into the brush that we used for our lid shade, I'm going to dip that into Dusty Rose, and I'm just going to define the lower lash line with this. Next, we're going to go back into that fluffer brush. We're going to get back into the shade Birkin, and we're just going to blend out that color that we put underneath the lash line. Now we have a really smoked out lower lash line. So just to add a pop of color into the eyes, I'm going to take the L'Oreal Color Riche? I'm going to take this L'Oreal eyeliner. This is in the color Violet. I'm going to put this right, well, we're going to see. I'm going to put this into the waterline. Alright, so now that we have that purple shade in there, we're going to finish off the lashes. I'm going to use my e.l.f. eyelash curler. I'm just going to curl my lashes, and we're just going to get our eyes ready for our false lashes. Using this new mascara that I brought, it is the Power Volume 24 Hour. So I'm just going to put some mascara onto the lashes. Next, I am going to apply my false lashes. I'm going to use the House of Lashes Iconics. I'm going to apply those off camera, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so our lashes are on. I was having like the most technical difficulties with this lash. This lash, just know it was a struggle, okay? It was hard. But I'm going to take my telescopic mascara, and I'm going to run that underneath on the, I'm going to run that on the lower lash line. Alright, our lower lash line is done. Now we are going to move on to highlight. I'm going to take my Benefit highlighter in Anyway, I'm going to take my Benefit highlighter in What's Up, and I'm just going to take the stick and I'm just going to run that on the highest points of our cheeks. Using my ring finger, I'm just going to blend that out. I'm also going to put that into the inner corner highlight. Using my ring finger, I'm also going to blend that out. And I'm going to take it down the nose very thinly. Using my beauty sponge, I'm just going to further blend that out. Now, because that's a cream highlight, I am going to go in on top of that with the Becca highlight in Opal. I'm just going to use a fan brush for this one, and I'm going to take that to the cheekbones. I'm going to take this one to the Cupid's bow. Maybe I should use my mirror. I'm also going to take some just above the brows. And I'm going to run that on the tip of the nose. Using banana powder, I'm just going to clean up the contour. Alright, and for our last step, we are going to do our lips. Alright, so for our lip pencil, I'm going to take the color Soar from MAC. Alright, and so for lips, I'm going to take the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in Veronica. I'm going to take the liquid lipstick in Veronica. Using our thumb, we're just going to make sure none of that gets on the teeth. Alright, and so for our last step, we are just going to set our face with the MAC Prep and Prime. Alright, and that is the end of the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this smoked out liner and sort of purple brownish vibes we have going on today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.